when I was 8, I read a Daredevil comic by Frank Miller.
Hmm.
It was an episode called Russian Roulette. I still remember it. Daredevil is written and drawn by Frank Miller, inked by Terry Austin, and colored by Christy Shields. I remember all those names still, and it was a really like one of the very Miller stories. So it was dark and psychological, and it was about media violence. And I was 8 years old, and I was like, I, I don't understand any of this, but it's making me feel a little bit queasy and uncomfortable,
Hmm.
and I want to make this feeling in other kids.
I had the same
Uh,
experience with what Creep. Remember Creepy and Eerie magazine, the comics Creepy
yeah,
and Eerie. I had that.
yeah,
I'm not sure how old you are. I don't know what our age difference is, but that was for me like when I was 8 to 10. My friend's dad had these creepy and mixed with the Playboys. He had Playboy, Creepy, and Eerie, and we'd of course sneak them and go look. But the Creepy and Eerie were so violent and creepy and eerie, and I just remember like that same feeling, like that uncomfortable kind of like, ooh, I shouldn't be looking at that. This is weird, but I couldn't take my eyes off it. It was like, oh, but I love it, but it's making me feel weird. You know what I mean? I want to
yeah.
do this. Yeah, I want to do
So,
this to other kids. That
yeah.
sounds great.
I want to inflict this upon other kids. Mm.
It's a way of
And from
it's.
that point on, in my head, I was a comic book artist.
Oh, okay.
And that was also I did get distracted by partying and drugs and all the fun stuff
Hmm.
in the teens,
Hmm.
uh, but I was always in my head a comic book artist.
Did you make your
uh,
own comic books or anything, or
oh
plan
yeah,
them
I,
out, or draw them out, or?
I started making fanzines when I was like 14 years, 13 years, printing them, stapling them, going to comic book
Cool.
conventions and selling them,
Oh, cool.
bothering older artists, bothering my heroes with them. So, one of my greatest like experiences was bothering John Buscema
Oh, okay.
with the Conan
Mm-hmm.
artist, and he's a big hero of mine. And I met him at a comic book convention in Bergen. I was 17 years old, and I had just started doing these improvised autobiographical comics directly with my brush. And
Wow.
that's not what Buscema was into.
But that wasn't
And
even a thing back then, was it? I mean, that was pretty unusual to do
yeah,
see autobiographical comics.
yeah, no, in Norway, the underground comic scene was it had a lot of weirdness, and it had a lot of autobiographical
Oh,
stuff.
okay.
But mine was very different still, because it was very much based around the American stuff.
Okay.
So it had a lot of influence from Buscema, from Kirby, from Will Eisner,
Mm-hmm.
from Frank Miller, from all the Image guys and stuff like that. But it still had that Scandinavian underground
Cool.
feeling, and it was a pretty realistically drawn uh, autobiographical little short, and it had the classic like 6-panel grid like the old Kirby and Buscema comics. And Buscema he wasn't happy that day. He
Oh
had just
no.
been doing a talk, and everyone was asking him like, what was it like working with Stan Lee? I'd put a bullet through his head. What was it like working with Ernie Chan? I'd put a bullet through his head. That was his standard
Oh my
reply.
God.
And after that, I came up to him, and he was about to leave to his hotel, and he was tired and he was grumpy. And I came up to him stuttering like, hey, Mr. Buscema, could you please look at my comic book? And then he took it and said, okay. And he looked at it, and it was in Norwegian, so he couldn't understand anything. And he got this scowl on his face, and he grunted and said, mm, mm. Actually, this is quite good.
Oh,
And he
really?
left. And that was like, oh,
That's amazing.
I'm on my way.